Hey, how's it going, guys? Josh here with Rebel Sun. So here's this update video on what else I need for the armor, and it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit of stuff. Anyway, so I was doing the math and some thinking, and a lot of the armor that I was making was articulating, like the shoulder pads that I just made. They're pretty awesome, huh? Now, the whole idea of this armor is to make it stealthy and, not make a lot of noise. I went running with these on and it made a lot of noise. It was a whole bunch of clanking and it's just crazy. So these articulate. The chest piece I was going to make was going to articulate too, not to mention it was made out of about 1/4 inch iron plate, so you can imagine it's not going to be a little clank, it's going to be a bang every time I take a step. That's not very silent at all now, is it? So what I'm going to switch to is aluminum armor, kind of like the chest piece that I had originally made, but that stuff is like hecka thin, and I don't know about bulletproofness, so we'll see about that. Probably not. So the idea is to make a forge and, of course, make some molds and shapes out of foam for the armor. Now, let's get the easy stuff out of the way. The chest piece and the back piece I'm going to be making out of this pink insulation foam, which should be fairly simple to cast out of. I'm just gonna, of course, cut angles on the pieces, glue it all together, and then, shove it in the ground and pour molten aluminum on it. Then drill holes and strap it up and paint it and do all that later. That's easy, because looking at the research that I've done online, people use that, they use the white foam, and of course they use wax too, but I'm not about to make a wax chest piece and put it in the ground, but that's the easy part, because it's being made out of common material. Now, I want to do the same thing with the mask, because I want the mask to be this kind of like Army of Two / Crossbones from the Avengers Age of Ultron. I want it to be that full helmet. That full helmet and mask. I see a lot of paintball masks that have like the Army of Two style, but it only covers half their face. The back of their cranium is exposed and wide open. So I want to do the same thing with the aluminum casting, and I want to cast it out of this 1/2 inch green foam. Now, the issue with this foam is foam from a roll-up mat for camping. I've done a lot of research online, and I haven't seen anybody use this foam, and I have an idea why. When I had this foam glued up onto the first chest piece that I made, I had to take a hot nail and melt through it to trim off the excess. And when I did, it released a lot of gases, a lot of fumes, and I'm sure with the gases and fumes mixing with the molten aluminum, it's going to cause a lot of air bubbles, a lot of junk, and your piece will turn out horrible. So, it's like, that seems like an issue, but I don't see it really being an issue. The reason I don't see it as being an issue really is because I'm going to try this theory. I've been doing a lot of brainstorming, and what I'm going to do is take a plaster mold of the foam helmet I make, and the way I'm going to be making the foam helmet and the shoulder pads is kind of like Evil Ted style, like cosplay. And what I'll do is I will take that, let's just use the helmet for now because that's what I have drawn up, and I guess I should explain that this right here is the helmet. That's a casting box, and that's another casting box. Nobody really understands my blueprints but me, and that can be a good thing. So the reason I'm using plaster is because I know that in green sand, or just sand in general, that when I just know it's going to end in disaster. But with plaster, as it being a more solid mold, the aluminum should have a better chance of taking place and holding its shape when it hardens. So I'm going to be trying this sandwich theory, and I know I spelled that wrong, but who cares? I just want this to work. Basically, I get one box with plaster, another box filled with plaster, and once it's kind of cured, you know, it's still moldable, like you could still move the plaster around, but you know, it's thicker, it's not as watery. That's when I will stick one part of the helmet into the plaster that'll like kind of take the shape of it, and then quickly I flip the other box of plaster on top of that, and that will also leave this little, you know, indentation of the helmet in there. So basically the foam helmet is going to be kind of like a fossil in rocks, you know. And before it fully cures, I'm going to drill a hole down so I can pour in the molten aluminum. And hopefully when it all dries, I can basically pull the boxes apart and, you know, kind of like take out the helmet or like melt out the helmet, put it back together, and pour in the molten aluminum. And that foam helmet that was in there has now disappeared, and the aluminum won't have any foam to melt, but it will have a shape to fill. That's the concept that I have, in a way, I guess. And I want to do the same exact thing for the shoulder pads as well. And the reason I'm doing this, I forgot if I had just said this, but this foam here is very malleable. It's what people use, or not this foam, maybe that foam, kind of like EVA foam, but people use a lot of this kind of foam. This is just regular craft foam. Silly Winks. It's so weird. It's a weird name, but the point is it's very malleable and people use it for cosplaying. And I just take that shape that I can make from the foam and make a plaster mold out of it. Then fill it with aluminum, pull it out, drill holes, add straps, paint it, and make it look pretty. That's the idea. Coming back to this though, I need a good working forge that will melt aluminum no problem, and I need a lot of aluminum. Now I could save up a bunch of soda cans, and that might work. But what I do know from research is that the aluminum they put in aluminum soda cans is kind of crappy compared to the aluminum in, like, I don't know, like square tubing that's made out of aluminum, or like just aluminum bar stock. And I know that kind of aluminum is higher because usually it's made for like structural purposes or fabricating. So I figure it would be much better to get high grade aluminum, just buy it, even though it's going to be expensive, than save up a bunch of really poopy soda cans. So I know I'll end up making a video about this someday once I actually put this experiment into place, but that's going to be the price for about everything. It maybe even more, because I'm going to need a lot of aluminum. So that's the price for building a forge. I needed a bucket, a propane tank, some cable, some hose fittings, fire extinguisher I'll be using for the crucible, and of course all the aluminum and yada yada yada. Here is the craft foam and belts and other straps that I need for the pieces of the armor that I have right now. That's going to cost about $120. And now keep in mind, all this craft foam, all the belts, all the straps, that's for literally everything that I have planned ahead in my head. So that's like from shin guards, thigh guards, gauntlets, shoulders, chest piece, helmet, you know, all of it. That's all I should really need. I did long-term math, and that should be all of it. I hope. I really hope. And, yeah, so here's the summary of the update video, I suppose. I need a lot of money. I'm not asking for money. and you can't because I haven't given away my address, location, I don't have a Patreon, and yada yada yada. Not to mention there's like 15 of you guys subscribe to me, and hey, I mean, I love you guys. Thank you for subscribing. The point is it's gonna be a good while until I get this armor put together properly, and you know, just, oh man, it's gonna be crazy. So for the meantime, I'm going to be doing my very best to be putting back money. I need about $650, so I will be doing my very best to be putting back money and just saving up and getting it done. In the meantime, I'll probably be making weapons and from all the scrap stuff I have in my yard. But anyways, hey guys, God loves you, I love you, and thank you for watching. I'll see you later.